Get ready for a journey full of mushrooms, my fellow ice cubes, because today we are going to beat Plants vs Zombies 2 without planting any plants. For many years, mushrooms were one of the weakest plant groups in PvZ2, as most of them were useless outside the Dark Ages. However, the situation has dramatically changed in recent years, as mushrooms are now experiencing their second renaissance, with the addition of new plants featuring unique mechanics, making them an important part of our time adventure. Now, the game has 17 different types of mushrooms, and I think it's a great idea to beat PvZ2 using only magic bodies. But before we start, let's begin with the rules of this challenge. First, I can only use shrooms, except for Sunshroom. The game would be too easy if we used him. Second, no leveling up, and third, no power-ups. My rules aren't so strict, but I did my best to stick to them. Without further ado, let's begin our Shroom challenge. Our time adventure began with a few tutorial levels that didn't contain any mushrooms, but it was a great start because we received a hot sauce. Hey neighbor, can I borrow that hot sauce? I've been holding on to this taco for forever. No, Crazy Dave, don't. Oh, I didn't stop him. Unfortunately, it was the last time we tried such a delicious taco, so we have to go back in time to try it again. And that's how we appeared in ancient Egypt. Please wait 4,500 years for your taco to be ready. More or less? That doesn't smell right. I'm sure my taco is around here somewhere. But in the meantime, I'm sure we will find it, Crazy Dave. We didn't come here to have fun, we came only to get our taco back. Until day 5, we continued to learn this game and its features, but after beating day 6, we have officially started our challenge, as now we're able to choose plants that we want to. So I decided to beat day 7 using only path shrooms, and I couldn't even imagine that it would be so hard. I didn't expect to see so many camels on a single level. There were too many of them, and they were really long. My path shrooms are able to deal with only one zombie at a time, so those funny looking camels created lots of problems for me. Fortunately, I managed to survive until the end, but not without the losses. On day 8, I decided to try out Scaredy Shroom, as it looks really scary. No, seriously, I want to see a guy who drew such disgusting mushroom. He looks like a guy who drank too many cans of cola. Yet, the damage output combined with a hilariously low price makes it a good choice for a major part of my journey, so you will have to look at it for another 10 worlds. Day 9 was dedicated to my good old friend Shroom. This guy definitely likes to duplicate himself. However, my first attempt didn't go so well, as I had to save some more time before planting them on the lawn. Everything went fine on my second attempt, and the final wave looked so epic because of the enormous amount of shrooms on my lawn. It's only the beginning of this challenge, but I already like that idea a lot. Day 10 began with planting magic shrooms to make my zombie friends eat a delicious cobblestone. That is the best way to get rid of those annoying gravestones. You know, I'm a guy who likes to create some problems for himself, so that's why I decided to beat that level using only magic bodies. It made me replay this level over and over, as the final wave became a trouble spot while I was trying to beat it. Yet, on my first attempt, I finally managed to align everything perfectly to achieve a perfect result. On day 11, I had to play with some pre-picked plants for me, so that's a good chance to tell you an interesting fact. Did you know that mushrooms are neither plants nor animals? They constitute their own kingdom, the fungi. This includes the familiar mushroom-forming species, as well as yeasts, molds, smuts, and rusts. That's why I said in the beginning that we are beating PvZ2 without using any plants. Another day means another experiment. Day 12 was an interesting one, because it was the first time we played with the toadstool. This cute looking frog dude is a killing machine, as he can easily consume an entire pharaoh zombie with a single bite. I wouldn't like to mess with such a dangerous guy and his sticky tongue. Oh, I forgot to mention that he generates sun, so we don't even need to use sun shrooms, because we've got our own sun shroom that can also consume zombies. On day 13, I combined Scaredy Shroom with Path Shroom to deal against the camel zombies, and you know what? It worked perfectly. None of the camels were able to cross the first few tiles, meaning this combo is not only cheap but also effective. On day 14, we made a great discovery. I found out that the Guard Shroom is one of the best shrooms we have ever used, as it functions like Chomper, but even better. These fluffy monsters spawns little chompers around him, and the number can go up to 8 little chompers. That's insane for a hilarious price of 200 suns. For the same price, I can buy only one toadstool. That's how the power creep works. It's a perfect example of it. There is a plant call on the banana phone. It's an SOS. They will be sitting plants if we don't help. Let's take that route and save them. So they want me to save some plants placed on the banana cells. Of course, I have to help them. Day 15 was dedicated to my lovely sunflowers. Fortunately, I was able to take everything I wanted to, so that's why you can see some spore shrooms on my lawn. It seems to be a perfect option for me, as I like to get some free plants and do nothing for it. Put a like on this video if you like spore shroom as much as I do. Day 16 was yet another great chance to play with my lovely toadstool. This guy is insane. Just try playing some levels to get into this froggy tune vibe. You won't regret doing that. Oh, and look at that. Bro just wanted to eat a cobblestone but accidentally got stuck in time. No, he's unable to eat a single gravestone. The bill collector isn't happy about that. Day 17 was a peak point of the Shadow Shroom, as this little guy clears the entire lawn with a single plant food. Don't you still believe that it's a cool plant? Because it really is. Don't even try to mess with him, otherwise you will be destroyed in a few seconds. Day 18 was the first last stand level, which I decided to beat in a unique way. My plan was simple. I had to plant as many hypno shrooms as possible and easily beat the level. However, the reality wasn't as simple as I imagined it. I didn't have a lot of plant foods to create a gargantuar for every lane, so I had to find a working solution for such a complex problem. You can beat this level only if you plant hypno shrooms at the right time and position, so you can hold the lawn mowers for the final wave. I was lucky, really lucky, as on my 5th attempt I finally beat that annoying level. On day 19, you can see the exact difference between the art style of Scaredy Shroom and Path Shroom with Theme Shroom. What was the point of drawing such an ugly shroom? Why did the PopCap developers accept such a bad artwork? I can't find a rational answer to my question. On day 20, I had to protect those sunflowers planted on the banana cells once again. I didn't want to reinvent the wheel, so I decided to use a goofy mushroom that can literally spam itself across the entire lawn. Everything went so smoothly that I didn't even understand that the level had finished. Spore shroom is a definition of a good mushroom. On day 21, I broke lots of gravestones using my favorite Path Shroom. Despite being free, this little guy creates lots of profit, so that's why you will see him really often. Yet it was just the beginning of our fun game, as later, little shrooms were substituted with giant frogs that didn't leave a single chance to any camel on the lawn. I think they like consuming cobblestone as much as zombies. On day 22, I finally decided to try out the Wampercini, the worst mushroom in PvZ2. Bro is just an overpriced walnut with an awful design. Let's say that everything went fine and I successfully beat that level. Day 23 was a unique one, as it was the perfect time to test the nuclear power of the Doomshroom. Am I the only one who sees Creeper in such a cute looking mushroom? He isn't dangerous before biting him, so I can only recommend you to stay away from a pulsing dynamite. If you have a chance to get him, you definitely need to do that. Oh yeah, he easily took down the Gargantuar with only 2 explosions. Like I said, stay away from a charged creeper. Day 24 was an absolute banger, as it was the last stand level which I decided to beat using this mushroom. This mushroom is so cool that it created dozens of copies of itself while simply beating the level. Isn't that the best option to beat the last stand, as bro is undefeatable? Yeah, I lost a single lawnmower because of the heavy boys, but that's just the details. My taco tastes so close I can smell it. Beware, user Dave, Dr. Zombas still stands in your way. What does that guy have against tacos and me eating them? I don't know, user Dave, Dr. Zombas is a really strange guy. Unfortunately, day 25 didn't contain any mushrooms, so it was just a usual battle with Dr. Zombas that lasted only 2 minutes. Look, Penny, a pirate key. It's piratey. This will enable us to travel to another time. Sounds salty. Taco ahoy! You're right, Penny. The key is mine, which means that we are moving to the Pirate Seas, another 25 levels, but this time with even more obstacles and new zombies. Hang on to your parrots and peg legs, my fellow ice cubes, because we are moving to the Pirate Seas. A world of giant cannons and powerful ships is waiting for us. It is the second world of our team adventure and yet another hope to find Dave's taco. Today, we will stop Popka the parrot from stealing our plans and finally discover the dead man's booty. Without further ado, let's smash the heads of the pirate zombies. I thought we were trying to get back home and get your taco. But pirates! Hang on to your parrots and peg legs. That's right, Crazy Dave. This boat is full of zombie pirates that want to eat our brains, so we have to do something to stop them, and I think our shroomy friends are the best weapon against them. Nothing and no one can stop the shroom expansion. I think we've got a new tradition for our Fungi challenge, because playing the first level of each world using only Puff Shroom is a fantastic idea. Day 1 was entirely dedicated to my little Puff friend. He may not be the most powerful shroom, but surely the most reliable one. Just look at the lawn full of my favorite purple buddies. I'm sure they can stop anyone and anything. Oh, and it looks like we unlocked a butter machine. Day 2 was also an interesting one, as it was the first time we met the seagull zombie. This guy isn't so dangerous, but you had better stay away from the deck, as these birds are furious and fast. However, with the help of this poor shroom, we managed to contain a new pirate attack. Day 3 was a full copy of the first one, so it's a good chance to try some other shrooms in a new location. This time, my choice fell on a sticky tongue of the toadstool, as this guy knows something about consuming delicious cobblestones and stinky zombies. I like this goofy mushroom because he's a perfect example of a chill guy. No matter what is going on the lawn, he will shoot the zombies with the same speed as usual. Mr. Floppa would approve of him. On day 4, I decided to play some magnet shrooms, as this time we had to fight some local bucketheads. There were probably not so many of them, but the magnet shroom played a key role today, as it defended scaredy shrooms from hiding heads into the sand, just like ostriches do in a popular myth. Don't believe in that because it's not true. Ostriches don't hide their heads in the sand. Meanwhile, the scaredy shroom really does. You will see it a bit later. Oh, wait a second, did we receive a treasure chest? I guess it is the right time to open it. Finally, one of these pirates dropped some booty. I'm detecting something more challenging than treasure inside. Oh, well, they fooled me once again. There is no golden capybara in it. Life is ruined. So why don't we try to beat the level using only a fluffy shroom? That was the question I asked myself when I entered day 5 of the Pirate Seas. I discovered that the guard shroom is incredibly powerful, perhaps even too powerful. Only 3 of them spawned 15 little chompers that could easily destroy everyone and probably the entire pirate ship. I guess I should save them for more dangerous situations. On day 6, I decided to have some fun with Dave's magical shrooms. Everything was going fine until the first wave, as the number of zombies wasn't so high. However, everything started to go wrong right after it, so I had to use my plan B for such a catastrophic situation. You won't believe it, but a little shadow shroom saved the entire lawn from a total collapse. Man, I think that Dave sold me a spoiled shroom because he turned a regular zombie into a gigantic one. That's what happens when you eat too many bars of Hershey's chocolate. Day 7 was the perfect time to use this poor shroom once again, as we had to deal with the barrel roller zombie, the toughest enemy of mine, because it is so hard to pronounce it. I've spent a few minutes trying to say that perfectly, so put a like on this video to support my efforts. The rest of the level was spent trying to stop the enormous number of zombies that try to get my brains. It seems that this world is only getting harder and harder. I like that. Oh, and it looks like we received a letter? Let's look at it. Look out, it's a map. To treasure! It says no zombies. Maps don't lie. Well, we do have a shovel. Let's go. No time for precautions. Guys, I don't think we can trust this map. The real treasure can't be marked with a red cross. Oh well, it's a trap. We're gonna need a bigger boat. Unfortunately, day 8 didn't contain any mushrooms, so it's a good chance to tell you an interesting fact about the Pirate Seas. Did you know that the actions of these worlds take place in the Andaman Sea? It is located between Thailand and India, so some of you might even have a chance to swim in it. I wish I had an opportunity to swim here, as this sea looks so fantastic. Day 9 was just a normal level in the Pirate Seas. Nothing special happened during this level, so I've got nothing to say about it. Oh, except for one fact. We received a sprint bean. It is totally useful in my campaign, but this green little body is actually cool. On day 10, I decided to try out the fume shroom in the Pirate Seas, and that wasn't my best decision. This mushroom is kinda made for its price of 125 cents, as it can't even defeat a single conehead. However, its plant food ability is an absolute banger. Despite the bad efforts of our main character, the level was successfully completed with the help of the other mushrooms. Day 11 was the right time for experiments. Combined with the scaredy shroom, the yum shroom showed itself much better than on the previous level. On top of defense, we had some puff shrooms, whose goal was to stop zombies from eating expensive mushrooms. You know what, this strategy is a good one, as it allowed us to successfully complete the level without losing any lawn mowers. Hell yeah, we unlocked a coconut cannon. I love the smell of coconut cannons in the morning. Smells like… well, coconuts. Day 12 was the Cannons Away minigame. I used to hate it in my childhood, but now I really enjoy it. The targets aren't so high now as they used to be when I was a kid. But anyway, I really enjoyed beating that level, even though it didn't contain any mushrooms. Day 13 was an important one, as this was the first time we faced our worst enemy, Popka the Parrot. This flying little dude can easily steal our plants, so we should be ready to face him. However, a sticky tongue of the toadstool had easily dealt with him, so it isn't a huge threat anymore, thanks to such a great mushroom. I didn't actually know that the toadstool can consume parrots, so it was a huge discovery for me. Nevertheless, we also had to gather 2000 suns, so it was a great opportunity to play with some other mushrooms. Beware the attack of the nightcap, my fellow ice cubes, as this killing machine is unstoppable. Oh, and the ice shroom is actually a cool one, but I used it a lot in my previous challenge, so I know everything about it. It's low tide and the waves are coming in. Grab your water wings, we're going to get wet. So let's smash the pirate heads once again. Day 14 was the first last stand level, which I decided to beat using this shroom, as someone had to deal with the barrel zombie. Everything went pretty fine, and not a single Popka the Parrot managed to steal my lovely mushrooms. That was an epic level. Day 15 was already a good one, as we had a pre-planted 3-peater. This green little dude made my journey a bit better. I can't say much about this level, but it was a good one, trust me. On day 16 we had to protect some spring beans, or did they have to protect me? I didn't solve that question yet. However, some scary looking shrooms combined with the magical plant food ability made this easier than you might imagine. On day 17 we had a great chance to consume even more parrots than usual. I think they taste really delicious, as toadstools are competing for eating them. Now we know for sure that those goofy shrooms are not only fans of consuming cobblestones, but also big fans of eating some colorful popkas. On day 18 we had to survive the zombie attack with some pre-picked plants for me. Yet, it's not the reason to skip the level, as I can always tell you something interesting. Did you know that some fungi can turn ants into zombies? Yes, you heard that right, zombie ants. This parasite infects the ant as it grows through the body, eventually taking over its brain. He makes it reach the needed plant with the perfect conditions for fungi to grow, and then consumes the ant. So, Plants vs Zombies aren't far away from reality. But don't worry, these zombie shrooms exist only in the depths of Brazil, so you won't find them in your city or garden. Day 19 was dedicated to gathering a required amount of sun, and I thought it would be a great idea to play with Fume Shroom once again, as we didn't use it much in the Pirate Seas. It was definitely a good decision, as he was the best choice for such a level. 10 out of 10, PopCap. Well, here is another level dedicated to collecting suns. Only while writing this script, I realized that I could easily beat day 20 using only those tools, but now it's too late to replay it, so let's forget about the fact that I mentioned a few seconds ago. You won't believe me, but day 21 was also dedicated to gathering the needed amount of sun. This time, I didn't want to try anything new, so I decided to come back using my favorite Spore Shroom, as this little guy makes everything for me. You can literally colonize the entire lawn with its spores and save suns for planting even more mushrooms. By the end of the level, zombies couldn't even enter the lawn because spore shrooms were everywhere. Day 22 was the last stand level, my favorite one. Oh, did I tell you that Nightcap is an overpowered plant? Because it really is. For the price of 300 suns, you get an undefeatable mushroom that can easily destroy everyone around. My defense line was so strong that not a single line was broken and not a single Wamperchini was eaten. On day 23, I decided to use some of my favorite shrooms to deal with all the upcoming hordes of zombies. I think it was the right decision, as I managed to stop them from reaching the flower lane. I love this journey a lot. Day 24 was dedicated to protecting some spring beans. Sometimes they were really useful, but most of the time they weren't safe because of the swashbuckler and cannon imp. Yet, we managed to hold off the zombie attack and successfully beat the level. User Dave, am I the daughter of Dr. Zambos? That was one fine sandwich, so what did I miss? Unfortunately, day 25 didn't contain any mushrooms, so it was just a usual battle with Dr. Zambos that lasted only 3 minutes. Please tell me about your creation process. It was pretty easy. I found some tiny webby wobble stuff. Anyway, the key is mine, which means that we are moving to the Wild West, another 25 levels, but this time with giant bulls and delicious fried chickens. Gather up, my cowboys, because we are moving to the Wild West. A world of annoying piano music and delicious fried chicken is waiting for us. It is the third world of our theme adventure and yet another hope to find Dave's Taco. Today, we will play with some fast-moving minecarts and stop the Creeper Man from exploding. Without further ado, let's find out who is the real sheriff of this town. 6 shooters, locked and loaded. Old-timey piano music, downloaded. Chance of taco, a bit less than 0%. Margin of error, a bit more than 0%. I guess that our chances are really high. So here comes the first day of the Wild West. I wanted to continue my tradition of beating the first level of each world using only puff shrooms, so you can see this continuation on your screens. My little puff friends have successfully defended a poor pea shooter that got lost in the vast expanses of the Wild West. Just don't go mining diamonds for too long, otherwise you will be in the same situation as poor pea shooter. On day 2, we had our first battle against the Dynamite Man, who wanted to eat my plants right from the behind. However, that wasn't the best idea of a Creeper Man. I honestly wouldn't allow him to work as a lifesaver. By the end of the level, my lawn was entirely covered with our shroomy friends. I love them. Day 3 can be officially called the day of annoying piano music. I'm honestly not a big fan of annoying music, but I love making some loady kabooms. Come on guys, just bite a single piece of my delicious Doom Shroom. Oh, there is a special invitation for you, Piano Man. Just get closer to my new friend to make your music sound even louder. After such a great kaboom, we received an automatic Doom Shroom. Let's look at it. My uncle Milo used to have one of these. He called it a boombox. Actually, that's close enough. I'll allow it. They fooled me once again. It's not a dynamite taco. Life is ruined. Day 4 didn't contain any mushrooms, but that's not a reason to skip it, because I've got an interesting fact for you. Did you know that the first fungi evolved around 1.5 billion years ago? They have a common ancestor with animals, but evolved in a separate group of living organisms. They first colonized the land around 460 million years ago, about the same time as plants. Well, I hope you enjoyed my interesting facts. On day 5, we have officially spawned our first gargantuar from the Wild West. That guy is really massive, so I don't recommend you staying on his way. Meanwhile, the toadstool is still a perfect zombie eater. You had better stay away from his sticky tongue. Day 6 was the first last stand level, on which I decided to combine my favorite spore shroom with a fluffy guard shroom. In my opinion, this is one of the best shroom combinations in the game, as they perfectly complement each other. Both of them spawn new shrooms, defending the lawn from the upcoming zombie horde. You won't regret using that combo in a real battle. Like cow tipping, zombie tipping is best done from the side. Trust me, do not try to tip a cow from behind. On day 7, I delegated all the work of dealing with zombies to my big gang of toadstools. These guys have a huge, insatiable appetite. However, they don't like eating toasters, so that's why you can leave your PB and jelly sandwich only to yourself. Wait, is that a letter? Let's read it. Maybe they want to sell me some cows for my new farm. It appears brain are outlawed around here. Man, I just wanted to buy a cow. Now I have to get rid of Crazy Dave. Quick neighbor, play dump. We will follow your lead, user Dave. Now let's buy some good looking donkeys. Oh wait, it's not a donkey farm. Day 8 was a pretty cool conveyor belt level which contained lots of heavy zombies, but not a single mushroom. However, it's a good chance to express some of my feelings about the Wild West. Am I the only one who still thinks that this world is incredible? Just don't forget that the Wild West was released almost 12 years ago, which is really a lot. It gives me a good nostalgic feeling of the early 2010s, when life was simple and all you wanted to do was to play PvZ2 as much as possible. However, I'm living the life of my dream because making PvZ2 videos is my job and I really enjoy it. Thank you all so much for supporting me, I really appreciate that. You are all the best, my fellow ice cubes. On day 9, I had to survive the zombie attack with the given plants. Unfortunately, it didn't contain any mushrooms, so we can easily skip it. I already knew that on day 10 we would be stuck with the Chicken Man, so I had to prepare my defense for such an interesting battle. So the best way to deal with the annoying fried chicken is to plant some magical shrooms. They are totally approved by Crazy Dave. However, I got my best experience a bit later, when a giant bully was fighting against little chickens. Bro thinks he's tougher than Colonel Saunders. On day 11, I had to spend no more than 500 suns, so that's why I spent 0 suns. I don't need any suns, because I have a very reliable buddy known as the Puff Shroom. He costs 0 suns and does much better than 90% of the plants. This level is a full copy of day 1, so we can go to the next one. Day 12 didn't contain any mushrooms, but that doesn't stop me from enjoying it. Well, I think it's a good chance to tell you a bit more about myself. My name is Michael and I'm almost 22 years old. Almost a year ago, I graduated from the university and finally started living my dream life. Since I was a kid, I've always known that I wanted to be a YouTuber, and for almost 8 years I have been making videos on that platform with varying success. I'm very happy where I am, and I really appreciate having all of you. I'm not the most successful YouTuber, but I'm definitely one of the happiest. Guys, always believe in yourself and try to do everything to achieve your dream life. With the best wishes, your fellow Iceberg Leches. Day 13 wasn't the easiest one, because I picked the Fume Shroom as its main character. Everything was so bad that I had to stop the Prospector Zombie with the help of the Wamperchini. The only thing that saved me from a total collapse was the little Shadow Shroom. I guess that the only right place for the Fume Shroom is the Dark Ages, as he doesn't do so great in any other world. Nevertheless, the level was completed without losing any lone movers. I spent almost 30 minutes trying to beat day 14, because I created a huge problem for myself and tried to find a working solution for it. My main goal was to beat that level using only toadstools placed on the minecarts. Everything was going fine until the chickens came onto the lawn. I shouldn't allow them to get close to my frogs. On the next attempt, one of the zombies reached the lawn mower, which caused the chickens to break away from their boss. I knew that the level was beatable because Toadstool could consume Chicken Wrangler without releasing the Angry Birds. I made everything right on my 5th attempt and consumed the entire final wave with the help of the magical plant food. We did it. On day 15, I spammed lots of scaredy shrooms as I couldn't lose more than 2 plants, meaning that the usage of most of my shrooms was restricted. At least I found the best solution for such a problem. On day 16, I had to protect Johnny the Walnut placed in the banana cell. I found nothing better than planting my favorite spore shrooms and some little pep shrooms. I lost one of the down lanes because of the enormous zombie attack, but I won a battle, as Johnny was as healthy as a giant gargantuar. Day 17 was beaten with the help of the Wamperchini. Sometimes even such a useless shroom can become useful in the right hands. I really enjoyed that level because we used some simple mushrooms to fight the tough zombies. It reminded me of the atmosphere of Plants vs Zombies 2 from 2014. Day 18 was yet another last stand level, for which I prepared an amazing defense line, which cost only 1500 cents. It easily counters all kinds of zombies that are represented on this level, making it one of my best discoveries in the Wild West. This is an amazing example of building a proper defense using only mushrooms, as they can substitute for all kinds of normal plants. Day 19 was spent playing with some cute looking toadstools. This is for sure an amazing sun generator, as by the end of the level I managed to save over 3000 suns only by digesting the delicious zombies. Don't you still believe that the toadstool is a cool mushroom? Because it really is. Day 20 didn't contain any mushrooms, so let's forget about its existence. Day 21 wasn't the easiest one, because I once again created a problem for myself. This time I wanted to beat the level using only path shrooms. And don't forget that it's not the first level of our time adventure, so it's gonna be way harder. With the help of the magical plant food, I saved all the mushrooms I had planted before, and they won't cause significant damage to cone heads and bucket heads. Don't even try to mess with the puff shroom. Day 22 contained lots of winter melons and delicious frozen chicken, but not a single mushroom. That is really unfair. But fortunately, I had a lot of fun while freezing some chickens for the KFC, so that's why this level deserves a special mention in our Shroomy challenge. I guess the chicken is just one of the shroom varieties. Put a like on this video for a picture with a fluffy kitten. I like cats, dogs, parrots and all the animals. Day 23 was as simple as delicious fried chicken, because my toadstools consumed them incredibly fast. Even annoying piano music couldn't ruin the appetite of my gigantic shroom army. Day 24 was simpler than I thought it would be. No, seriously, I don't even know what to say about it, because day 24 was the most average level of the Wild West. Of course, I had to protect some walnuts planted on the banana cells, but only a single plant food solved all the problems. Unfortunately, day 25 didn't contain any mushrooms, so it was just a usual battle with Dr. Zombies that lasted only 4 minutes. That's right, these plants versus you and your zombies. And we didn't even need to use any spoons, even though those things totally exist. Anyway, the key is mine, which means that we are moving to the Frostbite Caves, another study levels, but this time with more powerful shrooms and even more problems. It's time to unfreeze some prehistoric zombies, my fellow ice cubes, because we are moving to the Frostbite Caves. A world of delicious ice stones and hot peppers is waiting for us. It is the first world of our time adventure and yet another hope to find Dave's Taco. Today we will fight against the extinct dodo birds and melt some frozen shrooms. Without further ado, let's explore the frozen wastes of the prehistory. Brr, it's colder than a polar bear eating an ice pop. Indeed, it appears we have arrived in the Frostbite Caves. We have traveled so far back in history, so we have arrived in prehistory. Sounds reasonable. So now our mushrooms have to adapt to a new reality, where cold wines are normal and wedges like Johnny can be covered in ice. So that's how we started the first day of the Frostbite Caves. Similar to a few previous worlds, we played it with only mushrooms to show the local zombies who is the real boss of the lone. Thanks to a few pre-planted walnuts, dealing with tough zombies like bucketheads became much easier. And just don't forget that the mushroom is an ultimate weapon in the right hands. Don't look now, Penny, but those plants have a bad case of a freezer burn. It's the frozen wines from this time period. They have immobilized the plants. Wait, so that's how we get the frozen wedges? Does that mean that they are hiding our taco somewhere around here? Just don't tell that to Crazy Dave. He will become a normal person after that. On day 2, I found the best and the most efficient way to deal with frozen wedges. The only thing you need is a hungry zombie and a magical hypnoshroom. After feeding our prehistoric friend with such a delicious mushroom, he becomes addicted to eating ice blocks. It also allowed me to free up some time to plant a couple of spore shrooms, which were trying to save Johnny's from being eaten. Unfortunately, not a single walnut made it to the end, but we will always remember the heroes of the shroom expansion. Not a single walnut will be forgotten. Day 3 was the conveyor belt level, which didn't include any mushrooms, so let me tell you an interesting fact about the woolly mammoth. Did you know that the last population of these animals became extinct only 4,000 years ago? To provide a comparison, they were still alive during the construction of the Egyptian pyramids, meaning that it happened not so far ago. They lived on a tiny island near the Russian Far East for another 6,000 years after the disappearance of the main population, which is really insane considering the harsh climate and the small size of the island. Day 4 was beaten with the help of an overpowered ugly shroom. It's so cheap and good simultaneously that it's hard not to spam it all over the lawn. With such a powerful plant food ability, it leaves no chances to 80% of the mushrooms we've got today. Should we call it an ugly killing machine? Because it is the only description I can give it. I'm starting to get cold feet about this place. Also, my feet are getting really cold. It's a cold spring this year in my country, so my feet are cold as well. Crazy Dave. Day 5 was yet another conveyor belt level, and it didn't include any mushrooms, so I suggest you to skip it. On day 6, we had a unique chance to spam a ton of spore shrooms. Everything was going pretty fine before we passed the first wave, as the cold wind froze all the mushrooms I planted before. The situation was catastrophic, which means that I had to find an unusual solution for such a specific problem. I didn't find anything better than planting a super magical shroom, which turns zombies into giants. It didn't go well on my first attempt, but now I know how to deal with that. So on my next attempt, I saved some more plant foods to spawn even more super magical shrooms. Everything worked just as I wanted, and all the zombies were destroyed with the help of a few gargantuars. Global cooling is the pits. What we need is a heat wave. I think it's a perfect time to break some more ice blocks. On day 7, we saved a few split peas from an ice shield, only to make them work on us. They are mine now. Also, the ice blocks are becoming a massive problem, so I was still searching for a perfect solution to let my shrooms keep fighting against the prehistoric zombies. The best combination I found was a duet of the spore shroom with a hypno shroom, as those guys perfectly balance each other. If the first 3 worlds were really easy, the Frostbite Caves finally gave me some serious obstacles for beating the levels. You know what, I really enjoyed it. Day 8 was already the 3rd conveyor belt level in this world, which is insane, considering it's not even a half of this time adventure. Anyway, let me tell you an interesting fact about the Frostbite Caves. Did you know that this world was released over 10 years ago? After saying that, I feel really old, as I was already playing PvZ 2 when this world was released. I was 11 back then, and now I'm 21. On day 9, I once again spammed lots of scaredy shrooms only to deal against the introduced Dodo Rider zombie. For the price of 25 cents, you get an amazing shroom that can't disappear and deals heavy damage to all kinds of zombies. What else do you want to get from such a cheap guy? Day 10 was the conveyor belt level. Yes, another one. It's so funny now that I can't even seriously talk about it. Let's forget about the amount of conveyor belt levels in the Frostbite Caves. Day 11 wasn't beaten from the first attempt, because I thought that completing it with our regular mushrooms was possible. Unfortunately, it's not. The amount of zombies was crazy, and the cold winds didn't leave me a chance to place some more shrooms, so I had to use my secret weapon to complete one of the hardest levels of the Frostbite Caves. Here comes my fellow Ice Shroom. A guy that we knew from our previous challenge was pretty useful today, as he was the only hoop to complete the level with only mushrooms. Do I need to tell you how strong he actually is? Because it's one of the best shrooms in the game. He easily deals with the ice blocks and the rest of the zombies, but most importantly, he is immune to freezing. That's why the level was successfully completed. Day 12 was the first last stand level, which I decided to beat in so many different ways, but the final one included only two plants, the Wamperchini and the Ice Shroom. The first one played the role of the walnut, while the second one was the non-freezing main attacker. Everything went so smoothly that not a single shroom was consumed while beating it. Day 13 was also a hard one, as I couldn't lose a single lone mover because of the weird flowers. Without the help of the Shadow and Hypno Shrooms, the level would probably be impossible, as they were the only working options against the tough zombies like Bucketheads and the Ice Blocks. We also faced a Gargantuar at the end of the level, but I counted everything perfectly and spawned my own one, which easily defeated the original Garg. Of course, I didn't complete it on the first attempt, because a lot of small details had to be counted while beating the level for the final time. I really enjoyed this hardness. Day 14 had to be beaten with pre-picked plans, so let me tell you an interesting detail about this world. Actually, the dodo bird has no connection to permafrost or cold environments, as this bird used to inhabit only a tiny island near Madagascar, where summer is all year round, and it had never seen snow in its life. The dodo became extinct around 400 years ago because of the human impact and the docile nature of the animal. There are some more facts about this unique bird, which I'll tell you a bit later, so stay with me. Day 15 was a hard level because it was unbeatable without the help of the Ice Shroom. Not a single mushroom could survive such a low temperature combined with a cold wind and enormous hordes of zombies. Unless you are an Ice Shroom. Not even a gigantic flying bird could surprise him, so stay away from my friend. All the pepper pools were saved, and after finishing the last zombie, we received a tablet. Let's look at it. Penny, have you ever tried licking an icicle and got your tongue stuck to it? No, user Dave, I haven't. While your tongue heals, please note the strange stone tablet. It appears to be a warning sign, written in Cave Zombie. Does it warn people not to lick the icicles? Wait a second, do they believe in a brain gut? Because we've got a crazy day for that? Day 16 was the middle milestone of this time adventure, so let me share some feelings about it. This time the Frostbite Caves became a pretty interesting and challenging world for me, as here I was able to create a ton of different strategies for the levels with some specific and hard rules. Just try to beat that world on your own and you will understand the way I think about it. Oh, and I'm really excited about our next time adventure, as this is an amazing challenge. On day 17, we had a great chance to play with fume shrooms. Some of them were covered in ice, while others were planted by me. Yet, it didn't stop my zombie friends from consuming delicious icy cobblestones. We also had to deal with the frozen imps, but they didn't pose any threat to us, and that's why I paid no attention to them. I wish these prehistoric zombies would just go back to their caves. User Dave, perhaps it's time to try a new tactic. Surprisingly, day 18 was a conveyor belt level. It contained some of my favorite plants like bloomerang and stonian, but no mushrooms. However, it's a great chance to tell you even more interesting facts about the dodo bird. Did you know that it's actually a giant pigeon? Yes, the dodo bird is an amazing example of birds' evolutionary tendencies on isolated islands with plenty of food and resources. It took around 4 million years for them to turn from a small pigeon to a giant flightless bird. That's how it works. Thank you so much for your attention. On day 19, I had a limited amount of shrooms that I could pick on the level, so that's why I took some of the most reliable and cheap buddies with me. They did amazing work, as they managed to hold off the zombie attack and survive until the end to let the lone movers do their job. Day 20 contained lots of spores in the air, as it was the peak point of the spore shroom. Yet, not so many of them managed to survive the harsh climate of the Frostbite Caves, so that's why the Shadow Shroom did the rest of the work for it, as its plant food ability is able to destroy every zombie on the lawn. Day 21 was entirely dedicated to a fire pea shooter and his hot, flaming friends. You could think that I didn't prepare anything interesting for such a level, but I did. I've got some good news for you. My next challenge will be dedicated to fire plants, so wait for it. It's gonna be an epic time adventure with the same cool plants. On day 22, we have successfully tested our local nuclear weapon, which is called the Doom Shroom. Yet, don't forget that we are playing in the Frostbite Caves, meaning that some plants and mushrooms can be frozen, and the Doom Shroom is one of them. The frozen explosion looks like the Northern Lights, and we had a couple of situations with such explosions. If you worry about the whistles, remember that I have a Hypno Shroom with me, so they aren't a problem at all. On day 23, I was finally able to use my lovely toadstool, as none of the previous levels included such a great mushroom. Thanks to a few pre-planted sunflowers, we were able to produce even more sun, which doubled or even tripled the number of toadstools on the lawn. Always remember that the sticky tongues are a dangerous weapon against all kinds of zombies, especially tough one, as their buckets, helmets or ice cubes can't protect them from being consumed by the toadstool. On day 24, I had to produce 2500 suns, but I didn't want to give up and use the sun shrooms, so I decided to take the toadstool once again. Yet, my genius strategy collapsed right after the first wave, so I had to come back to the main idea of using the sun shroom. Let's just say that it wasn't an easy level, and I put a lot of effort into beating it, because it included lots of 200 IQ moments. Here you can also see another epic moment of a frozen explosion. As you may see, I managed to beat the level without losing all the lone movers, which is a huge achievement in my situation. Penny, what we need right now is a nice hot cup of cocoa. I recommend we call on Rotobaga instead. Penny, don't be so boring. Cocoa is better than Flame Beat. As you may understood, day 25 was a conveyor belt level dedicated to a free copy of a starfruit. Let's just say that it was a good level because I really want to skip it. Day 26 was beaten pretty easily, as my toadstools had no problems with consuming the ice cubes and the rest of the zombies. At one point, my poor froggy dude was frozen trying to reach one of the delicious zombies. What a shame, PopCap. Don't even try to let him go hungry. Day 27 was one of the most interesting levels of this time adventure, as I spent around 30 minutes trying to beat it, until I started using the Doom Shroom. The combination of it with a Spore Shroom allowed me not only to deal with zombies at a long distance, but also destroy those who came to rutabagas planted on the banana cells. It was for sure one of the most epic battles we have seen in the Frostbite Caves. Day 28 was a conveyor belt level, which I decided to beat with some classical mushrooms and Wamperchini. Here is also a working tip for dealing with the frozen plants on the lawn, so you don't need to take any fire plants with you. And of course, here comes a great kaboom for a gargantuar right at the end of the level. Day 29 had to be beaten with some pre-picked plans for me, so I want to leave that level for my next challenge. It is going to contain a lot of fire. Penny, my taco? User Dave, ignore the taco, ignore the tones. It's time to fight Dr. Zombos. Unfortunately, they thought it didn't contain any mushrooms, so it was just a usual battle with Dr. Zombos that lasted only 3 minutes and 30 seconds. Well done, we have defeated Dr. Zombos and his attempt to make me question my taco. User Dave, our journey through time. You know that it's about more than just a taco. I suppose you are right, Penny. It is also about my fellow ice cubes. Anyway, the key is mine, which means that we are moving to the Lost City, another 32 levels, but this time with a great sound production and even more toadstools.